Hey there crafters, it's Louise with you today. Thank you for checking out this video. I am having a little bit of a fun time with some foil today. So off camera I've used the Duro foil, which I prefer. It's my fave method because you don't have to have anything special. You can simply lay it down through a stencil, and as you see with this foil that I've got at the moment, I just press that on using the end of this brush, and because it's the duo foil, you don't need any heat to activate it. The paste, as it goes on, I like to lay it out quite thick for a little bit more dimension, and it helps the foil to stick, but it's really tacky, so it will stick if you put anything on top of it. Even once it's got foil on it, it will still be quite tacky, so just be aware of that. But in this case, as you can see, I'm actually using 3 different types of foil. So I'm using 2 types of teal. One's sort of a lighter color, one's a bit darker, and then I'm using the gold in there as well. So I'm just moving around and using my brush to place a little bit of that in some different areas, and I want them to sort of blend a little bit. So as you can see, I'm switching it around. I'm putting things at the top and the bottom and the sides. When I go back through, I definitely want to make sure that every area is coloured, so I'm just switching between the different colours, making sure that there's a pretty good mix of the teal and gold. And this particular duo gel is still so tacky that, you know, if you really don't like a color in a particular position, you could definitely overlap it, and that's how I get these kind of really fun blended teals and golds in my background. It is hard to show you on the video because you can only see it in reflection, but it certainly looks really cool, and I love this stencil. It's almost kind of mermaidy. It's really fun to play with, so I can strongly recommend that duo foil gel. I think it's fantastic stuff to play with, and you know, all you don't need any special heat tools or anything like that. It is something that you can have a crack at, and all you need to do is just buy yourself a bit of foil and some of the foil gel and use the stencils in really fun ways at home. Now, I've got this fantastic background, but what do I do with it? So I think it's really great, but it's quite hard to embellish now. And so I decided to cut a frame and to mat this background on a couple of different pattern papers. And I'm going to use some cardboard just to separate those layers a little bit as well. I've chosen this photo, and I think this works really well. So we got to go to the Queensland Museum where they had the Lego exhibit for Jurassic Park, and they had this like make a mosaic where you get given the coordinates and you have to place little pieces into the allocated spot of the mosaic, and then it goes up onto the wall and it makes a picture of a dinosaur. So it was a really great fun activity, and of course I snapped a photo while we were there, and I think the mosaic sort of background of the photo really matches in well with this stencil and foil background that I've got going on. Now, the black turned out thinner than I wanted, so I decided to mount it on another piece of pattern paper and have a little bit poking through. It's also a little bit warped, so I do actually avoid cutting this background piece because I need to just strengthen up that foiled section a little bit. So once I've done that, trim off the edges, and then I can go ahead and mount back onto that original frame that I cut out from the other piece. But I'm still struggling, and I know I need to put that cardboard underneath it to separate those layers a little bit. So I pull out just these are actually sort of the front and back cardstock pages that you get with your paper pads. So definitely don't throw them out because they can be quite handy. They're normally always in that 12 by 12 size. Once they're in an album, no one's really going to know or see what you've got tucked in behind them anyway. Or in my case, some of my layouts actually end up in just boxes because I have so many. I don't have enough shelves to store albums on, but the fun for me is in creating, so I don't necessarily mind if my layouts are just sitting in boxes. I just thoroughly enjoy sitting down and making pages. All right, so I'm going to let that glue dry, but I also need to think about this layout a little bit more. How in the heck am I going to embellish that background? And note to self, that tacky glue, that tacky gel is still really sticky. So for the day or two that I'd left it on my desk to think about a little bit more, the photo was sitting there and it got quite stuck. So just be aware, if you're sticking anything to that tacky gel, it will still be quite adhesive. Now, in my scrolling of Pinterest and sometimes I'm on TikTok and all different places where I get crafty inspiration, I had seen, and I do apologize, I'd like to give credit, I can't remember, it was something I flicked past, and it was this sort of stripe of like texture. And so I'm going to try and make my own stripe of texture in the form of this sort of strip. These chipboard pieces you'll remember from last month. I had a few bits and pieces still sitting on my desk. Some of this is from Stash. So I collect little bits and pieces here and there, and sometimes you'll just want something that's a bit different. And I can't say I particularly love how this layout finished. Like, I love the background and I think it's a really cool technique, and I do like this textural sort of strip, but it didn't quite turn out how I thought it would in my mind. So yeah, it gets the job done, and I don't hate the layout, which is always a bonus, because there have been times where I have thrown completed layouts in the rubbish because I just do not like how they ended, but this is not one of them. So this one will actually make it into an album, and I do like how it finished. So I put it aside again. I made this strip. I thought, okay, pardon me, it kind of works, but does it work? How can I make this better? I like the strip. The strip feels very grungy compared to this kind of mermaid background that I've got going on. So back to the drawing board, I pull out a few more of these chipboard pieces, again from last month's kit. So I can pretty much guarantee some of you will have some of these still sitting on your desk. And I think this brings it together a little bit better. I think once I start to build around it and incorporate a few more pieces here and there, it definitely comes together. So I think I'll repeat this, but I'm not sure. Let me know your thoughts. If there's something you think that could have changed this or made it better. Do you like the strip? Do you think it should have been left off? Is it not right? I always like to hear your thoughts. Now, title was another challenge because, again, some of these ones that came with this month's kit were just not going to work. So I did, again, pull from my stash, and I grabbed out an old chipboard piece from Cocoa Vanilla, and it's that word awesome down the bottom there. So I'm going to stick that awesome title just below that sort of grungy cluster that I've got going on. And that's going to be the finish of this page. So it was a bit of a hodgepodge, and I hope that you've stuck with it for this long. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.